You are significant. You have seeds of greatness inside of you. You are not on accident. You are on purpose. You are here for a very divine, special purpose. And we are going to talk in this podcast about evidence that you are significant. We are so excited to be together today, LIA VALENCIA KEY. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. And I am so thrilled that God brought us together to meet at Align this January. And as soon as Leah and I met, it was like instant. It was like light and love just like came together in such a big way. We were just instantly joined at the heart. And I was like, we have to collaborate. We have to do this together. And she was like, yes. So, Leah, welcome to You Are Significant. And I wanted Leah to start out by just sharing some of her background, her story, and how God first came into her life and began to show himself to her.
Oh, thank you, Darlene, for having me here. It's an honor. Thank you, every heart that hears our voice. We are grateful that you allow our lights into your heart. I love sharing, like you said, the beginning, because you could see me, and I'm always trying to evoke light and joy and smiling, and so you could be confused that that's kind of my natural birth. Like that was where I was born into, and I just get to shine that way. But it's quite the opposite. I love the way you say when God was shown to me in my life. That's a beautiful way of putting it. Because I was born in poverty. I was born in the most impoverished neighborhood of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to a single mother. Myself, my brother and sister. I'm the youngest. And I love to say that my mother was one of the most intellectual women that I'll ever know. She's no longer with me, but I self-diagnosed that she was paralyzed by generational curses, which means it's just passed down. Poverty was passed down from my grandmother, from my grandmother's grandmother. Society stereotypes, being born in who we are and an environment we're in. So physically, she couldn't break out of that. But I love that my mother would always use her words to speak life. And I say that because this poverty neighborhood that I was born into, we actually went from poverty to destitute when my mother had a tragic accident, broke her leg in several places, which now kind of limited her ability to do any little work that she could do to pay for this small basement apartment that we were living in this neighborhood that was gun violence, trash riddling the streets. There was a moment where my mother was getting us, meaning my brother, my sister, myself, home from school. And we get to this basement door, which we called home, and there was a padlock on the door. And that moment put a mother of 3 children with no place to go. All of our belongings were locked inside, and we no longer had a home. That immediately sent us to a woman's homeless shelter. And I always paint the picture of that very first day landing in the homeless shelter. I black out a lot of trauma. It's my coping mechanism, but there are lights within trauma that I remember. And that very first day that we landed in the homeless shelter, if you imagine a gym room, if anyone's ever been in this big size of room, like a gym, and there's these cots. Cots are these metal, small, very uncomfortable fold-out beds. And the cots are filling the gym room, and they're like 1 foot apart from each other. And there's one cot to an entire family. So that means we're all balled up. My mother, my sister, and my brother are balled up on this one cot together with the little to no belongings we had. and the gym room is filled with darkness, meaning there's crying and moaning and profanity and sorrow and hopelessness filling the room. I remember it so vividly. But as I explained that environment, in that moment, my mother looked down at her 3 children and she told us that our predicament does not determine our destiny.
Mm.
And that is so powerful. And I always just need to share that because there's so much in that. I was young at the time, about age 8. I was in 3rd grade. And so that was just a seed because I really didn't understand it. Because truthfully, in that moment, I'm thinking, Mom, this looks pretty destiny to me. This looks pretty real to me. But there's power. I pause in that because there's power in the words that you speak.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother, who was literally bound by this situation and unable to physically do anything at that time, the thing that she grabbed onto that she could do, the only thing she could do, was speak life and speak light into her children's ears and brains. And I say that because, like, look at the power of words. And then I ask you, what are you speaking in your life at this moment?
Mm-hmm.
What words are you saying out of your mouth to yourself and to your loved ones and people around you? Because I'm a living testimony. I'm 44 now. And I get emotional when I think about it. I'm 44 and those words are growing within me today. And so what seeds are you planting? Because words are seeds. And you may not see the impact immediately, but it will grow. And so are you consciously planting the seeds that you want to grow in your life and loved ones' lives? And so I say that they're seeds because I didn't immediately take hold of them, but I can tell you they're planted because I'm able to share it today. But I start to become my environment. We lived in the homeless shelter for several years, and I start to become negative, and everything I saw, I start to become speaking profanity, failing every grade in school. And I share this second powerful moment because to me, it's the first moment where true light was turned on to my life. And then I'd love to add that it was God's light that was turned on into my life. And it was, I'm coming back to the homeless shelter from school, and I see my mother standing at the front of the homeless shelter. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good to me. It looks like I'm in trouble here. And I'm like walking, trying to calculate, what do I fess up to?
Doing the shuffle.
What do I deny? I done all these things. And I get in front of her and she says, Leah, do you want to be a follower or a leader?
Mm.
And so now we fast forward. I'm about 10, 11. I'm still young. And so I'm quite confused. And so she goes on and she says, because right now you're following. And guess what? You're going to be everything that you see and that you follow.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Leah, you get to choose to lead. You get to choose to lead your life. There's an inner light. There's a divine destiny. There's an inner whisper inside of you. And all you have to do is choose to lead your life all the way to your destiny. And she left me with one statement, Leah, you choose. And she walked away.
Mm.
And that was one of the most powerful, magical moments.
You choose. You choose.
You choose.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to lead. And this concept of, which is quite magical, leading in a thing of leading your life, not leading others, taking control of going inside of you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Outside of you, but going inside of you, listening to your truth, finding what God is whispering to you and leading it all the way to your destiny. Meaning meaning basically listen to God's word,
Mm-hmm.
not what you're seeing. God is whispering something. That is the light. And you listen to it and you lead it all the way to your destiny. And so I was introduced to the concept of true leadership, meaning I worry about leading my own life. And then when you lead your own life, then other people see. And then there's this concept of choice that I didn't understand at the time, I didn't even know I had an option to choose. I really thought this is what we are. I see it, do it. This is what we do. But then when my mother reframed what was possible and said, oh no, back to that predicament's not your destiny. Like this is outside of you, but you get to choose inside of you. And that just unlocked all the light within me. Now, I do admit that my grandmother was a praying woman. And so prior to that, I would always hear my grandmother pray. And, you know, she lived in the housing projects as well. And then in this other neighborhood, and like things were falling apart, but she was always praying. And always really connected to God. And so when I think about my mother turning on that light for me, it was kind of turning on the light of who God was for me. And that God was talking to me and telling me what plans were for me. And so I immediately took hold of that. One thing I love to share, I say you should be like a shifter, if I can explain. You know, when you shift flour or you pour pasta in and the water comes out and the pasta holds in, whatever that is, be that.
The colander.
Really, I'm not a cook or a baker. Be that mechanism in human form, meaning there are things that are going to be poured into you all throughout your life. Words, things you see, poured into you. Now, your job is to be the colander and to shift out all the soot that's not necessary, that's not good for you, that doesn't resonate with you, and let it fall through you. And then hold true to all the golden nuggets and keys and utilize them as nourishment. And so I do that throughout my entire life. And I felt that was nourishment to my soul, even at a young age. And I took it on with such zest. The next day, I remember I went back to school and I asked my teacher, like, how do I get better grades? How do I see outside this environment? How? And so the next key I love sharing for everyone that's listening is this concept of asking up and sharing out. Now, in poverty,
ask up and share out.
We talked about that prior to us getting on. It's been my tools of like, how do you go from homelessness to sitting on a podcast with you, Darlene? It's literally understanding your divine light, trusting it, leading it, following it, choosing it, then asking God up for everything you need, being very specific of your desires, giving that solely to God, and then sharing out your desires in life. Because in poverty, it was the opposite of what I learned prior to that. I have learned in poverty, don't say anything. Don't share your dreams. Keep everything to you, because people will kill your dreams. People will sabotage you. And that is a scarcity mindset. And then what I realized was no one can kill your dreams.
No one.
God is the creator of all your dreams. You are the owner of all your dreams, all of your destiny. And so no one can take that or create that from you but you. So when you do choose to share out, it really is this powerful tool that I use to give my heart's desires and dreams wings to fly outside of my body. Because when it's just circling inside of me, it has nowhere to go. It has no learning to do, no development to happen. But when you share it out, like, I just want to get better grades. And then when you share it out with no expectation, I think that's the key of the sharing out. So you're just sharing it. Bob Goff, he's an amazing presenter. leader in speaking, and he was on Jamie Kern Lehman's Becoming Unstoppable event recently. Worthy book, get it. It's
Yay, get it.
It's absolutely life-changing.
Yes.
But I was blessed to be with Jamie and be in this training, and he said something that stuck with me, and he said that humans have an innate instinct to want to help. It's just a natural thing. But we help when it lands where it's true for us to be able to help. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when we just share out with no expectation for the specific human to help us, now when you spoke it up to God, God now is aligning the earth angels that are aligned. That's a good part in the Worthy book. And Jamie goes in more detail with it. That is assigned to your destiny. Now, maybe it's for one step further, multiple steps further, or just a word of encouragement. God is aligning that earth angel to your destiny, but you're speaking it out so your dreams are flying in the wings. And then the right earth angel that is aligned and assigned to you will catch hold to that dream and be able to take you one step further, two steps further. And that's what I've been doing for my entire life. And it has generally allowed me to shatter glass ceilings and be able to sit with you today.
I want to go back, if it's okay, to what you said about the dreams that you have and that you are the owner. And to go along with what you're saying is confirmation. God put those dreams inside of us. And I've got on my LIA Valencia Key divine right earring. And the dreams are part of our divine right. God put those dreams inside of you and me. They're not just some whim that drifted in and we decided that it was important. When it is a dream that God planted that seed inside of us, I believe even at conception, then that dream just keeps growing even from our childhood. Like that dream was already inside of you when you stood in front of that door and you saw the lock and your mom is realizing our stuff is in there. What are we doing tonight? I guess we're going to the homeless shelter. That dream was already planted inside of you. And seeing that lock and going to the homeless shelter and balling up on the cot, nothing could take that away from you because that dream was planted inside of you by God. And every single event that's happening is part of what actually nurtures the dream.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And the words as you were saying that, I think this is the first time I've ever said that, but as you repainted that for me, thank you. You are now the keeper of your dreams. You are the cultivator of your dreams. God has divinely given those to you. And it's like, well, how do I know? I don't know. I don't have dreams. I don't know. Like some people, I don't know. I don't have dreams. Everyone's talking about dreams and things. It is this thing that keeps coming back to you. Generally, it is wild and it seems unobtainable and unrealistic. And it's like, what, me? It's a powerful interest that you have that just keeps coming back. Mm-hmm. That can be of joy to you and to others in a positive manner. Mm-hmm. Those are dreams. Sometimes it's creating a family. Sometimes it's being love in the world. It doesn't have to be a business, which I always want to say, it's something that just keeps coming back in your spirit that is a desire for you that will serve joy to you and generally to others. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is a dream, and it generally is crazy. It sounds to the world in the book Worthy.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep.
You got to get in there because Jamie has this powerful section. You're not crazy, you're just first. And the world is going to say it's crazy. You're going to say it's crazy. But it was divinely given to you, even if it's something that then you say, oh, so many people have done it, but it's not you. Multiple millions and billions of people in the world that need your thing. Not the other things that are already out there. They need it from you, by you, through you.
And in the way that you will only do it.
In the way that you will only do it. And then you are the keeper of that, to cultivate it, to nourishment, to nourish it, and to speak it out, and to keep doing little steps with peace. I don't believe in trying to get to your dreams in stress and agony. Now, there's always obstacles. Like, this whole journey of my life has been very challenging. Even to this day, we talked about me being a small entrepreneur business. There is challenge. There is obstacles. There's always rocks in the way, and I got to be water and go around it and through it. But I still have joy at the foundation of it. And that is our job, to move these dreams through our body and out into the world.
And one of the things that I love that you use the word keeper of your dream, because with the conservative background that I come from, growing up, my mom, she was always talking about the scripture Titus 2:3-5 that talks about being a keeper of the home. And what if that concept includes, and even as a priority, is the dream keeper? We are the dream keeper of our family. We're the dream keepers. So as women, and really realizing our purpose as women is a huge part of this purpose, is we are the dream keepers. And your mom, it didn't matter what the circumstances were. It didn't matter how fancy a house, how fancy a cot, where you were. Your mom was living into that dream keeper purpose of showing you and casting light and strength onto your dreams.
Yes. And I feel that even in the roughest times, that is the gold, that is the light, because the roughest times are pinnacle moments in our lives of our keeping of our household, which is our body, our self, our mind, our temples, right? If we go down to the fundamental of our vessel, and then our dreams. And so when we get into these obstacles and these rough, challenging times, or like me, if you were born into it, it is the pinnacle moment of, do I persist through it, or do I allow it to stop me? And that's when you decide that it is my right to be greater than my circumstance. It is my right to move beyond the predicament. Even, I love to say, because there are many of us who didn't have rough upbringing, actually have very beautiful upbringings, but still feel there's something more for them. Wherever they are in their life, there's a calling for something different. And sometimes that is a challenge in itself, because if you look at the world, it's like, but you're great, you're fine. On paper, everything's amazing. Why would you want to fill in the blank? You should be happy where you are. But if God called you for something else, to something else, you are still charged to move to the destiny that God called you in, be it in the great situations to something greater or different, or even in the rough situations out of. They're very similar. And I feel like how we talk about God is, you are called. Like, calling means come, move. That's why God is calling you. It's moving you, shifting you. And that's a beautiful way when you get into these uncomfortable moments or ways or very rough predicaments. It's like, okay, well, what am I being called? Meaning, what am I being moved to, through, and out of, towards? And that's how I live my life.
Yes. So share with us, how did you get from that little girl to the teenager? You were asking the teacher, like, okay, how do I get these grades, into becoming a small business entrepreneur on QVC with a jewelry business that is really taking these messages, because I love your worthy necklace.
Thank you.
And I wanted to tell you that I got one of your worthy necklaces, and as soon as I got it, I felt called to pass it on.
Oh,
Not to
that's
just keep it for
prayer.
myself, but to pass it on. And immediately God just gave me the vision of like exactly who He wanted me to gift that to. And I gifted it to her on her birthday, and she was just like giddy and crying, and she was like, oh, she knew exactly what I was giving her, and it was such a blessing to her to be gifted one of your worthy necklaces. So thank you for empowering me to have that, to gift.
That is a prayer answer, because what I see it as, I love when we gift it to ourselves, but it is another level honor when you gift it to someone else, because I feel like you're gifting light to
Yes.
someone, you're gifting possibility. And so
Yeah.
I, so you are a prayer answer for that. I went on and I just start choosing, no matter where life was throwing at me, I would choose it. I became the first and only person to go to college, graduate college, not in my family and in my neighborhood, get a master's in education, and just really start trying to follow my way out of my predicament. It was very interesting because I wound up with a master's degree in education. I was teaching, and I realized that I needed that trajectory, but then I had to take a pause and listen. My mother, right before I graduated, my mother started to see me shine my light. And one of the last conversations we had before she passed and left the earth was, Lee, I see you shining. I see you choosing your light. I see you leading to your destiny. And it is so beautiful. And she gave me these little pair of earrings. And she said, so life can get really rough. So rough so that you can forget that there is a light within you. So I'd love for you to wear your earrings every day. When you put them on, when you touch them, maybe you catch a glimpse of them in the mirror. Allow them to be these visual, wearable reminders that there's always light within you. Just like you're choosing to put on earrings, all you have to do is choose it.
Mm,
And so I thought, oh, that was so beautiful. I get emotional when
so beautiful.
I love symbolisms. That was kind of the introduction of the power of symbol. And I realized, like, in life, we attach symbolism to everything, whether
Mhm.
you're conscious or not. If you're someone that you loved so much, always cooked something, right? And so now that smell of whatever that is now a symbolism of home to you, right? Without you
Mhm.
even consciously thinking of it. So we're attaching meanings and intention to everything. And so it's so beautiful that my mother gave me this concept of attaching symbolisms to something that you can wear to physically remind you when it is rough. So I just started hand sketching jewelry, honestly, for therapy for me. Remember, I'm from poverty. I don't even know how business happens in the world. I'm just trying to keep up. But I'm sketching jewelry, like what would it look like when storms come? Like, what is it rooted in? So I'm drawing rooted collections, like this ring that I have on for me. And then
Mhm.
I have this master's degree in education. I'm doing a little teaching, and it did not set well with my alignment and my truth. And so I remember my mother's words. She was no longer with me, and she had told me not to follow the outside world, but to go inside of me. And so I went back inside of me and I asked myself, the question is, what really turns my light to its highest intensity? Where do I radiate? Where do I shine? Where am I in my most joyfulest moment? and it was creativity. And I was like, oh God, that's funny and kind of cruel, because I'm back in the day, right? Social media wasn't really there. And so I didn't have it. Where I didn't see artists, or I didn't see the trajectory of really being able to support yourself through art, right? It always seemed like a struggle. And I'm like, oh God, that's cruel, because that's everything I'm fighting against being in. So it's gonna work. And so then I sat again with myself and I was like, well, there's gotta be a way. And I thought, oh, well, what is creativity? And I started thinking of all these ways to be creative. And I realized, like, oh, the beauty industry is creativity. And I can paint, which is makeup, and I can shape, which is hair, in this creative form, but it is still income, because that's an industry where people will hire you. So I was like, okay, I'll take my trajectory into the creativity of hair and makeup. Now, this is interesting because I have a master's degree in education. Now I go all the way back to cosmetology school for hair and makeup. And I share this because it's important to know, like, things in your journey can seem very not aligned, but they are so aligned. And I think it is also, I'd love it to encourage you, when you look at your life, to take jumps on things that may not seem in the norm, because if it feels good in your soul and it feels like part of your destiny, do it, because it will turn out to be great, no matter what the world says to do. Because people were telling me, what? You have a master's degree, you can teach, that's a guaranteed salary. What are you doing? And so I said, but I am following my light. I'm following my truth. And so I went back with a master's degree, cosmetology school, which made me now sweep floors in a salon with a master's degree. Sometimes you have to humble yourself.
And you know what I would call that moment?
Yes.
Your Abraham moment. Because Abraham was asked to get up and leave his, like, this family, this established family in the land, and he was asked to just go. And he went. He picked up Sarah, his children, his flocks, his herds. This is a biblical concept that you're describing to us right now. And in the moment, and I love what you're saying, that it has alignment, but there are times we might not be able to see the alignment yet.
Yes.
We're moving on faith in the moment. And that's usually when Satan comes in and he's trying to make you doubt, trying to come against you and stop you, but you were called to do it. And there's an inner peace, that inside of yourself peace, even though you may feel fear and self-doubt, at the same time, it came from divine purpose.
Yes. Everything. I thank you for saying that, because it may not feel aligned in that moment. Thank you. There's something that's so true. There's truth in it. And there is this peace that surpasses understanding in it. But there is the humanness outside of it, uncomfortable, nervous, concerned, words. So all of those things ring true. Still walk to it.
Still walk.
The
fear doesn't mean you're off track. It just points to the humanity.
Yes, that's how I use fear. So what I realized when I lost my mother so early, and I realized that what I had saw from my experience in my mother's life, she had never lived. From the moment when I came into world, she hadn't lived. And I was like, oh, wow. To live on earth and not truly live.
And how many people are doing that?
Yes. And so Valencia Key, which is the company that I've created, that is jewelry, but it's all things that we're talking about. The intention of it, the mission of it, the message of it really is about this truth of light, choosing it, shining it, leading in it, and choosing to fully live, even in the midst of things that don't feel right because my mother wasn't living. And so I decided that every moment of my life I was going to live.
Mm-hmm.
And so even in this small business concept, if you ask me to go do something, I'm going to do it. Even if it's off kilter and I got a whole bunch of business things to do, I'm going to live because God wants us to be a light of living fully. So I chose this cosmetology concept, went back to school. Now I'm sweeping floors. And I knew I didn't want to be in a salon. I just wanted to create. That was the whole goal. And to survive, I was working at Mac Cosmetic and bartending at the same time. So two things happened in that. In Mac Cosmetic, I realized, remember that share out. And with sharing out, you also ask a lot of questions. I think questions are powerful. There's learning. When I was failing in school, I was closing myself off to be inquisitive about life. And then when my mother shined that light on me, she opened the gift of learning to me, like learn everything around you, question people. So now I just ask people what they do and learn from people. And so when I'm in Mac Cosmetic, I was asking everyone who had a professional card what they did. This one beautiful heart said, "Oh, I work for QVC. And it's only 45 minutes down the way from here." And I'm like, "What is that?" And she said, "Oh, it's a 24-hour TV station that sells products." And I'm like, 24. And immediately it was connecting to me. It was divine connection. I was like, I never heard of it. I was like, wait, are you saying there's a salon in there 24 hours? Because I immediately heard 24-hour creation. Like,
yes,
not worrying about styling people, that I could just do creation 24 hours. So she was like, yes. And who are you in your journey? And this, I have multiple moments of this, but I love this because in my struggle, like I'm now sweeping floors with a master's, like I'm in a rough spot right now, right? And I'm still joy and I'm smiling and I'm asking questions and I'm bubbly of life.
mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, I'll connect you with the person in QVC." And so she connects me, and then I get connected, and they're like, "Oh, you need a cosmetology license." Now, mind you, I don't have one yet. I'm working on it. So that gets severed. That's cut. It takes me 5 years. Now I have a target, though. So I believe in targeting what God told you to be so.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be shown things that you know is for you.
Mm-hmm.
It was exposed to you for it to be inspiration. And so how I look at the world, no longer do I look at the world as to follow what they do. I look at the world as inspiration of what's possible. And so when I see things that are possible and that I know is aligned to what's part of my destiny, I hold to it and I target it. So now I'm targeting QVC. I finally get my cosmetology license. No one is there that was in the same place. I get no's for 5 years straight, literally.
Wow.
No, I'm not qualified. No. There was even one moment where I go up and I'm like, "Oh, wait, I'm missing the biggest part. They need to see my light." That's why they're not feeling me. So let me go to QVC. And then that's where things will change, right? This is in the early days. You cannot just drive up to QVC anymore. But back in the day, you could. So I drive up to QVC and I walk in these doors and there's a security there. And I'm dating myself because I have a CD with my portfolio on it. And I asked the gentleman, "Can I give this to the studio salon?" And he's like, "Do you have a name?" Very serious. And I'm like, no, but I know there's a salon here. I just want to give it to the manager. And he's like, "Ma'am, you actually have to, if you don't have a name, you have to turn around and get off the premises. You're not able to be on this premises. It's trespassing." My heart is crushed. Human, I'm pouring tears. And I share this for a divine reason. I'm pouring tears. But there's an inner loud whisper. Now it's not just quiet. It's so loud of a voice. And I call it a divine voice that said, "You're going to walk through those doors one day and you're actually going to walk past that exact man."
Wow.
But I'm crying. I'm broke, but I hear it so clear. So now everyone that smiles at me twice was my barometer. I tell them I want to work for QVC. If you look nice, I'm going to tell you. So I'm bartending to survive, sweeping floors, and this one day it's empty, and this one gentleman smiles at me twice. He just wants a rum and coke, but it was my barometer. So I say, "I want to work for QVC." And okay. That's interesting. And then he comes back and he says, what's interesting is I work for Comcast and my dear friend works for QVC. And I'm like, wow. And he says, give me your information. And I'm like, okay. I think nothing of it. A day later, I get a text message from, his name was Fred, Fred's friend. I remember him vividly. Stephanie Humphrey was a beautiful heart. Stephanie had never met me. Now, I say this because, like, what light are you being in the world as you're in your journey? Are you depressed? Are you angry? Have you let all the no's of you not being qualified dull you, harden you, sharpen you? Or are you living possibility? Are you light and joy? And are you just knowing it's going to happen? So you are just beaming through it no matter what you're doing. And this gentleman, Fred, had transferred my light is energy, had transferred my light energy to his friend, so powerful that she had never met me. And through a text, she said, my friend said, you have such beautiful energy that do whatever I can to help you because you want to work for QVC. Here's the contact name of the person in the salon, their email address, their phone number, and use me as a reference. Met me.
Oh my goodness.
Your light, your kindness, your love, your true heart. Not your perception of being, but your true heart will shatter any glass ceiling in front of you. And I love sharing that because that walked me in. And so I did exactly what Stephanie Humphrey said. 5 years of no's. In those 5 years of no's, I was sweeping floors, but for a purpose. The salon I was sweeping floors with taught me all types of hair textures, taught me everything I needed to know. So I was learning in that humbling moment. So for 5 years of no's, I had learned everything, and it was time. It was my time. And that email sent me and got me an interview. And that interview, because I've been practicing for 5 years, got me a yes into the QVC doors. QVC now was a light that had opened up to me. I was styling dream makers, these hosts, beautiful hearts that are making these entrepreneur businesses come true. And then I was styling business owners, people who actually create these products that are life-changing to people. And I'm getting to connect with them. And what I realized is when you have a pure message, a pure intention of truth that you want to share with the world, and you put it into a tangible product, when the receiver gets it, it literally becomes life-changing.
Wow.
The human can feel the intention in the tangible product, and it truly pours into their life in the manner in which you pray for it to be. And I realized I'm styling all these beautiful hearts, and the last thing that they would say was their hair was done, their outfit was already on, but the last seal of courage was, what bracelet do I wear? What necklace do I put on? What earrings do I put on? And it was sealing them to go into these big moments. And I realized I had been hand sketching this jewelry that my mother had told me was wearable symbols. Light and inspiration, and my whole life journey was from darkness to light. And truthfully, the reason why these beautiful hearts were allowing me to style them was because of the energy of possibility that I gave to them. And that if I pour this love of bravery and courage and possibility into these creations that I hand sketch, they can be life-changing when wearers wear it. And that's through mentorship and inspiration. I created Valencia Key. And through a long journey, I found that Valencia, in a slang dialect of means courage and bravery. And key, we know, unlocks. So it's really symbolic, wearable symbols that unlocks your courage, unlocks your bravery, unlocks the light within you. And when you look at all my pieces I create, I try to have a key always somewhere on it, and a star somewhere in it, because it's a reminder that you hold the keys within you. All you need to do is choose to unlock that light, that choice, that bravery in you, and you will too consistently move to your divine destinies.
Oh, Oh my goodness. Wow. I love it so much. And I just feel the spirit that you have of love for especially women,
Yeah,
but everyone who sees your jewelry and understands the meaning
yeah,
and the heart and the spirit behind it. Energy is so, so powerful. And at the event that you and I met with, what you're saying reminds me of what Rudy was teaching us,
yeah,
that even in the chair where you sit, you're leaving an energy for the next person who comes and sits in that seat. If you're at a restaurant, if you're at a class, if you're at church, if wherever you're at a movie theater, wherever you go, think about the energy that you are leaving in that chair. Are we thinking thoughts that lift, that are full of love, that are full of peace, full of joy, all the fruit of the spirit that we want to walk in? Are we thinking about those things? Philippians 4:8 talks about think on these things, whatsoever things are pure, just, honest, righteous, holy. Like it does matter what we're thinking about, even our thoughts, because they create energy. And as you're sharing your jewelry out, you're pouring all of this beautiful spirit into each creation, every piece that you touch, that you package, that you bless as it goes out of your doors is sharing out that beautiful light spirit that you have.
yes. Thank you. And energy is so powerful. And it is light. And like, what is light? Well, light is the energy and the tension that you put out. And so you can put dark energy out or you can put light filled energy out. And you get to choose it. And whatever circumstance you're in, you can even harness the dark, challenging things that are given to you into light. That's what I do. Like,
I was going to ask you what you do when you face a trigger,
yeah,
because
love
having that childhood background and the things that you went through that were trauma, we all have triggers.
oh,
You have triggers. We
I'm a
all
living
have.
trigger.
And so, I think as human beings that like us are spreading love, spreading light, the difference comes in not that we don't have triggers,
No.
it's what we do when we have the trigger. So what do you do to always be coming back to light, always be coming back to joy, and everything that you're sending out the door with your jewelry pieces? How do you deal with the trigger to shift back into who you really are?
Oof. I love that. Triggers are real, and I don't think that anyone should be ashamed or think you're less than for triggers. So one thing you're not alone if you're always triggered, because I'm always triggered. But it's
Mhm.
like you said, how do we handle the triggers? Well, one thing is I created that collection Rooted. It's roots. And this is what I realized, because there was one time I was like in this big storm and it was wild. Everything was falling down, branches, everything was going awry. But I just felt this. I love saying peace that surpasses understanding, because it means like I don't even know why I have peace here, because I should be like derooted and blown all the way somewhere else. But I'm solid and I'm peaceful. And I had to take a moment and dissect, like, what is this? And I
Mhm.
realized what it came from was what I predetermined to be rooted in, and what I consistently put as my roots, even when I'm not that. Meaning, I've predetermined that I am love. I've predetermined that I will keep a foundation of joy. I've predetermined that perseverance will be my guiding action. I've predetermined that I will seek peace in the midst of storms. So, and I'll add the list. I've predetermined that I believe in God's whisper and
Mhm.
God's destiny for me, right? And so these are predetermined things that sometimes I'm not fully living in or my triggers take me out of. But what that does for me is means I root into it. And root means you ground, like you're in, like when you think of a tree, it's deep down in, it's holding true. And now these words that I've listed are actually action words, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have behaviors to them. And so when I've said these words and I root into these words, then there are behaviors that are connected to them. So when my triggers come, I call out what I'm rooted in. I think in what I'm rooted in. Like my trigger says, yell at that person. My trigger says, go back to my project days and get real indignant, like go in. But then my self of truth says, but what did you say? And that's why I love wearing my rings and stuff, because when I'm going and I'm typing a non-loving letter, I see the ring with roots and I'm like, ooh, I'm not rooted.
Delete.
And I've done it. I've deleted a whole entire email because it was so mean. The email that came into me was mean, to be honest. But my reply is not what I said I was rooted into. And so you've got to decide this all the time before the time, because then you have something to call on, to hold on to trigger you back into. And these things have ways of being. And then you call out, well, what does love look like? Okay, I'm triggered. What I'm about to do doesn't match what love looks like. What does love look like? Okay, love is patient. Love is not a doormat.
No, and that's the point to go along with what you're saying. It doesn't mean no boundaries.
No.
No.
But then what does it look like? How do I allow my triggers to be my triggers? How do I stand up for myself? How do I acknowledge my truth and then be love? So then love says love is patient. So then what is patient? That means take a breath before you reply to this email.
Take a
love
breath.
Is kind. Okay. Well, what would kind? Look, read your words. Is that word kind? Delete it. What can you fill in that space that's kind? Okay, then put kind words in there and still stand up for yourself. And so then that's how I consistently am able to be light in the world, because I'm rooting in these ways of being, and I'm able to call on that grounding when my triggers come up, and I'm able to see what that picture of it looks like. Like when someone's trying to take my joy, I know it. I feel it. It's coming around and I'm like, oh, they're trying to take my joy. Okay. Well, what does a foundation of joy look like? Well, joy doesn't allow joy doesn't allow anger to fully set in. Joy allows you to feel. Like I say my truth. You may hear me spit it out, spew it out. But joy doesn't allow things to stay long.
Right.
Joy
calls in forgiveness.
Yes. Joy
and forgiveness can accompany boundaries.
Yes.
There can be both in the same space.
Yes.
There will be both in the same space. It's like forgiving the offense, forgiving the anger, forgiving the maybe malice, forgiving their pain, manifesting on trying to manifest onto you. But the love and the joy is almost like your shield.
Yes.
You feel that you have this on, and it's flexible, it's comfortable, it fits, it gives you movement.
In the way in which you want to be in the world. If you want to be light, it allows you to respond in a light-filled way. What I love about love is it's like, okay, in this situation, how do I love myself? How do I protect myself? Because loving yourself is protecting yourself. Right? And so it allows you to truly set boundaries of love for yourself. And then I say, okay, this is how I love myself. Now, then how do I love myself? And then show that to the world in love. Oh, sorry, I can't do that right now. I'd love to, but it's putting me out of blah, blah, blah. But I'm standing up to my truth and I'm saying it in a loving way. And so it just allows these beautiful pictures of giving you ways of being in the world so that you can consistently show up the way you want to show up and not how your triggers make you show up.
Mm-hmm. Love is so strong that it lets you be that highest self,
Yes.
and still it's strong enough to let you be and me be my highest self, and
Yes.
still project love onto them in spite of their pain.
Yes. And love allows you to protect yourself
Mm-hmm.
before loving someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the only way to truly love is to love yourself.
And it helps me to feel compassion for
Yes.
them, even in the moment. Like,
Yes.
the love with, I'm calling it March Mercies this month, and
Oh, I
talking about, because the definition of mercy, the first part is compassion. And
like
so love is so strong that when I have self love and I have boundaries and I have self protection, then it's so strong that I can project out that compassion, that mercy, that love to them.
Yes, for a beautiful visual example, some situation or someone has harmed you through words or whatever the case is, and you love them so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decide, okay, what does love look like? Okay, love means I need to protect myself. Actually, what real love for myself means is I need to remove myself out of this
Mm-hmm.
situation or away from this thing or person. Okay, so that's my love for me. So I'm going to decide to remove myself, and however that looks like. But I'm not going to hold anger. I'm not going to spew negative words as I remove myself. I'm not going to try to necessarily get harsh vengeance as I remove myself. I'm just literally going to protect myself, do it in a loving way, and still keep peace through the energy that is there. And that's what love is.
It's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful. So, Leah, part of how you share your love is you're helping other women who need opportunities for employment and for sharing their gifts that they are creating. And I absolutely love your bags that you are sharing out to the world. So, tell us a little bit about those.
Yes, thank you. I feel that Valencia Key is going to be a vessel and is a vessel for the receiver that receives a tangible piece of Valencia Key to have that light with them, that wearable light that will. I was in this beautiful training. Her wonderful name is Nami. She is a curator of Japanese culture, chief culture curator for this luxury skincare line, Tatcha, who I so dearly love and work with. And she was training us on the whole culture and then this concept of luxury. And I had already always said to myself that Valencia Key is this inclusive luxury, right? And it means it's welcoming us all in, that we are all quality, that we are all valuable, and we seeing everyone. And then she took it to another level, and she was like, luxury in Japan, and what I'm adding to Valencia Key now is a product, brand, or thing that's intention and consistent reason for existing is to uplift and improve your life.
Mm.
And so that's what Valencia Key's core mission is. So the lives of the receivers, but then also the lives of others who need a helping hand, like little Leah, who are in situations that are no income, low income, no opportunities, and bringing opportunities to them so that we can shine light in their world so that they can move to their destiny. And one of the projects is working with these beautiful artists in Ghana, Africa, in the village of Ghana, where there's basically no income there, but there's a lot of creativity and heart. And I decided, my father's actually from Africa, And he wasn't the best father. I always share that. And so I would randomly see him. But one time I saw him, we were in the homeless shelter in a real rough way. And he's like, oh, this is not poverty. Where I come from, I'm 1 in a million to make it to America. Where I come from, that's poverty. And I remember feeling, I was like, there's someone in a worse predicament than me. And I just had a heart that one day I was going to help in whatever way I could. And so 2 years ago, that light was turned on to me. I got to voyage to Africa and I got to see the true poverty that my father was speaking of. And it is very true. And the limitations that's there. And I was like, what can I do? But what I saw was so much art, so much creativity, and this cultural beadwork is a cultural African thing. And I was like, how do we bring income through that talent? And so I work with artists in the village of Africa, and they hand bead these handbags that are so beautiful, so quality, so structure, so much luxury. And what I love is they're beautiful and you get so many compliments, but they're actually blessing someone. I actually work with men and women. One of the women, she supports her entire family unit in the village. So not just her immediate family, but her grandmothers, her grandfathers. That's what other cultures do. So she has a whole lot of burden. So she's feeding a family off of this. She's educating her children off of this. And there's a gentleman whose dream is to be a nurse. He's feeding his nursing education off of being able to make these handbags. We're literally changing lives when you get a Valencia Key handbag. And that's what I want. I want us to be blessed to be a blessing. That's the mission of Valencia Key.
And tell us about what you have coming up with QVC and your sand dollar.
Oh, yes. Please. Thank you. Join me. This has been, there's always obstacles, and I know there's always greatness in front of obstacles. Host Kirsten Lindquist, she's one of the top hosts on QVC. We have dream sessions. I'd love to encourage you, find a beautiful heart that you can have dream sessions with. What is a dream session, Leah? It's literally just a time you get with someone and you just talk the wildest dreams out that have come in your heart. Like you just share the most. Like one of my biggest dreams is that I want, through Valencia Key's success, to open a school for underserved individuals to license them in trade so that they get a skill in the United States, that they are licensed in a skilled trade to be able to support their families and their dreams. Cosmetology changed my life. And
I love it.
A blessing. So I'm sharing that dream, and we're sharing dreams. And then Kirsten was telling me how her place of peace is the beach, and how the waves can be so turbulent and rough, and you see all these violent waves in the water, and then she's looking down and she sees these sand dollars that make it to land. And they're so pretty and delicate, but they made it through all of those rough storms. And some are chipped like us, some are little bruised like us, but they made it through this journey through the waves. And she was saying, like, that's how life is. And we decided to create a collaboration to do a sand dollar collection so people can wear the sand dollars, a reminder that we are fragile, but we are tough and resilient, just like the sand dollar, and that we will, through any turbulent storm, still make it to our land and destination, maybe chipped, but still whole. And that launches the beginning of April. So I'd love for you to join me on social media, because I'll tell you, LIA VALENCIA KEY is my personal page, and Valencia Key Design is the business page. I'll tell you when that's going on air on QVC, but that's going to be super special.
So special, because the sand dollar is so fragile and yet so beautiful at the same time.
And it has a dove inside. I didn't even know she exposed to that. Like if you shake a solid sand dollar, if one happens to ever break open, you'll look at it and they look like these little doves. So on the necklace, you'll see I put a dove in the necklace chain. But these little doves are actually the teeth of the sand dollar, but they look like little doves. And spiritually, it is believed that once we're cracked open, our dove is able to be released to be a blessing, to fly in the world, to bless so many others. And I just think that's so beautiful of how our life is. Like when we're cracked open, when we're vulnerable, we were talking about vulnerability, and we're allow our vulnerability to actually fly. When I was talking about those wings, fly in the air, that becomes not only a blessing to you, but so many others in the world.
And you're wanting to offer an opportunity to an individual. So share about that.
Yes. Speaking of cracking open vulnerability.
Speaking of.
When I talked to Darlene, I was like, I'm doing my method of speaking what's in my heart and sharing it. And so cracking open this vulnerable topic of, like, if you look at me on social media and all these things, you'll think that I'm this huge business doing so amazing. And the truth is, I am being blessed. People are starting to see my light, but there is struggles with orders, and it's only me in the business. I'm a business of one. And I know God has big dreams to grow Valencia Key, to be a blessing to so many in the world, but I can't do it alone. This is not a singular journey. And so I've been praying for someone maybe that's retired, who has done this CFO, chief financial officer, accounting, bookkeeper work, that knows how to build a foundation structure of a business, like financially structuring the business so that we can grow and really help people in homeless shelters, help people in Africa to move throughout the United States in a blessing way. But that all comes through numbers. And that's not my strength. My strength is the heart, the vision, the intention. But I need to pair with people where they have gifts that are just as strong as mine and have a passion to be light in the world. So if anyone knows anyone that could join me, like pro bono, there will be benefits in the end once this grows, but just really has a heart to join a small business mission, to see it grow and to bless other people, I'd love for anyone to message me, because that's what I'm in prayer for.
Yes. So where should they message you at? I will put it in the comments of this episode so you can find it again, but go ahead and shout it out.
Thank you. Please directly email me. I'm cracked open. LIA, LIA at Valencia Key, VALENCIAKEY.com. That goes directly to me, as well as if you're on my website, valenciakey.com. If you hit contact, I'm customer support, so you'll get me too. All the things. But when that CFO, accountant, numbers, genius gift person comes in line, we'll grow this business so that we can really touch more people in a bigger, stronger way.
Oh, I'm so excited about all that you're doing, LIA. You are such a beautiful person inside and out. And this time together has been such a blessing. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been a blessing and an honor, Darlene. I love you and appreciate you, and every heart that listens. I love you so much. Thank you.
Love you so much. Oh. Thank you for listening to You Are Significant. Please leave us a review. Please leave comments, give us a like, and share this out. We appreciate you here on You Are Significant, and I cannot wait till next time to spend time with you.